G'day fans and welcome back to yet another exciting episode of Talk and Stuff. Now, first things first, I'm hoping that everybody can connect correctly because there were some issues with Facebook this afternoon when I was getting the show organised. So with a bit of luck, everybody will be able to turn up on time, and Christy has, which means everything's working. So Mr. Aron, yay team, the technology is on our side once again.
Hi, Christy. Hi, Dags. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have a good discussion tonight. Dags sent me through the run sheet for today's show, and it is fully loaded.
Oh, I tell you what, mate, we have got that much to get through. I'll be surprised if we do get through it all because there's just so many things going on. Sometimes you can have a really, really quiet week and you go, oh, it's all pretty boring. Then you just get flooded with all this really, really cool stuff. And one of the coolest things that has actually occurred just recently is not even sci-fi related, but it's just so funny we can't pass up on it, is this crap that's going on with the Wicked dolls. So Mr. Aron, you know about this. What happened, dude? How did they balls this one up, son?
Well, do you know what? I was looking for my porn and I typed in Wicked and it went to the Broadway show and I was incredibly disappointed. And then I found out that Mattel had done the same thing. They sent out all of these Barbies. They're actually Wicked Barbies. And they printed www.wicked.com on the box thinking, or whoever put it on there, thinking that Mattel had bought the domain name for Wicked the movie, but the domain name was actually wickedthemovie.com, and so it's sending hundreds or thousands of people probably to an adult site. Dags, how long did you examine the link for?
Oh, I tell you what, mate. So when they say it's not just wicked, it's wicked. So so all these little kids, these 12-year-old kids, probably mainly some females, have looked on the website and go, oh, wicked.com, I'll go to that. Oh my goodness! Oh, I just got to accept this button to say it's an adults only site. Holy guacamole! Who knew that the soundtrack for the Wicked the movie was chicka chicka bow wow? Oh
Yeah.
dear!
Of all the things that could happen, that is probably one of the worst. There would definitely be someone getting fired over that. There must be a proofreader somewhere who just like wicked.com, that looks great, didn't bother checking the site, didn't bother doing any of that. There would definitely be heads rolling over this one because it is quite an embarrassing thing for a professional company as big as Mattel to do.
Well, the funny thing is, the dude who would have gotten, I assume it's a bloke who got fired. You know, he's down at the pub going, I lost my job today, but you wouldn't believe how I lost it. It's absolutely fantastic. He wins and loses at the same time.
On the other side of that, you've got the Mattel executives going, that's the last time we put the Scarecrow in charge of things.
Actually, if you're really quick, whoever's in charge of the Wicked site, they'd quickly whip up a porn video of Elphaba and I can't think of the Glinda, right? Doing the bizzo, so to speak. And I tell you, and this is why Chrissy's saying, hey, Daddy, they're doing weird stuff. Oh, dear. How about that?
You land on that website and we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto.
Oh, that is absolutely fantastic. But that is an absolute balls up of major proportions. And you know what? People are going to remember it forever. I think it's an amazing balls up, as I just said. And as Kelvin said, you have a wicked night. So we had to start the show with that because that is just so funny. You know what? The thing is, on a truth, even you know this, if you have the ability, buy, and this is people out there, buy those dolls, both of them, both of the characters, with the dodgy website on the back, because they're going to be worth millions in the future because they're all being recalled. They'll have the websites changed. And if you've got a mitten box, one of those dolls, preferably both of them, you watch 10 years from now and you'll be able to write your own check. So, so there you go. You got to think. Because the reason, sorry, dude, the reason why you got to do that is because you have to do this. That's how you need to think. That is
true. I was just going to say, no one on the Wicked site does have a mint box, so they're actually very, very rare.
Oh, dude, where are we going with that? Anyways, now that we've started the show on an absolute low, we're going to try and crawl our way back up to the gutter. Now, I just got a couple of things I wanted to mention. Russell at the moment isn't with us, and I'm not sure he will be with us tonight. I just want to have a bit of a shout out to Russell because his wife, Janet, is going through some health issues at the moment. So I just wanted to say to Russell, even though he's not watching, that we are thinking of him. And last week, if you recall, we talked about his YouTube channel. It had 996 subscribers. Well, after the show finished, it went up to 999. And it finally clicked over to the 1,000. So I just wanted to highlight two YouTube channels here. So Russell and his YouTube channel did finally get to 1,000 subscribers, which is a bit of a massive achievement for him, which is awesome because he produces all of his own content. And at the bottom, Jeffro, who sometimes pops into this show, he also clocked over 1,000 subscribers about a month or so back. And of course, what he does is he digs up all these old video clips from the 80s, like Today Tonight and America Entertainment Tonight and whatever else, and puts those on his channel as well. So both the two guys have clocked up over 1,000, which is a bit of a big deal. So I just wanted a bit of a shout out to both of them, which is very cool.
And our friend Dicko, who I put a TikTok video up of, the viewing figures stopped at 666, confirming to me through proof of numerology that Dicko is evil.
He's the beast. What can I say? So very, very cool. I was going to say, because he's so short, the numbers actually were going backwards. All right, in the Star Wars, there's a lot of this shit stuff going on everywhere. It's absolutely astounding. All right, so in the Star Wars world, right now, I don't expect you to read the crap on the left, but you can if you want to. It's all about apparently the latest updates of all these movies, all this stuff that Lucasfilm announced all these years ago. There's trilogies here, and there's movies there, and TV shows there. It is completely Burko, right? But the big thing is on the right-hand side, Simon Kinsberg, who's a bit of a big deal around the place. He's actually now apparently been gifted a new trilogy to create for the Star Wars. And I think it's the one that has Rey in it. Rey apparently is the be-all and end-all character. She's the go-to woman for everything. And there's a bit of a thing going on regarding creating a new film trilogy for Star Wars. Compared to the fact that there were Game of Thrones guys were going to do a trilogy and Rian Johnson was doing some movies. Taika Waititi, he was down there. He was going to do movies. I don't know if it's all storm in a teacup or just a shitload of fluff, but apparently there's stuff coming.
Was it Danny Glover or the guy that was Lando Calrissian? He was meant to do some movies as well. I kind of don't believe any of these rumors, even if Lucasfilm put them out. Until they actually get the green light and they go ahead, because I think what actually happens, they did talk about the Rey trilogy and announced Daisy Ridley was coming back at the last Star Wars celebration, and then nothing. And I kind of think it's almost one of those things where they announce stuff and then hope that they will be able to do it, because everything since The Rise of Skywalker has fallen through and fallen apart, hasn't it?
It has, and it's all a bit over the place because a few years ago there was a big seminar thing where Kathleen Kennedy just unloaded all this stuff, and it was like, oh my god, for the next 5 or 6 years it's going to be complete madness. But some of those shows have dropped off, others have appeared, like Skeleton Crew was never on that list, and it was the mindset was that they were just going to focus on TV shows going forward, and now all of a sudden movies are reappearing. It really is a bit of a dog's breakfast at the moment. I like this comment from Christy, been a Star Wars fan from the beginning, but she's burnt out from it. And yeah, it's you don't know. I agree with you. You don't know who to believe half the time. Having said that, I did read somewhere that Mandalorian and Grogu has finished filming, so that at least we know is definitely coming out. But as for the rest of it, it's like, I don't think anybody knows what's going on. There was also another theory going around that Kathleen Kennedy, now that she's in her 70s and is probably looking at retiring soon, wants to go out with a bang, so to speak. And that's possibly where this thing has come from. So I don't know. It's just a bit all over the place, dude.
I actually think she is going to rearrange Lucasfilm into an empire and declare that she rules forever.
Yeah, well, you never know. So who knows? We got Gene. We actually got the pronunciation right this time. Gene, a reserve judgment for when it comes out. I don't trust anything Star Wars anymore, given their track record during the Kennedy. Yes, so it has been a bit up and down, a bit higgledy-piggledy. But as we know, Skeleton Crew is due to come out soon. Andor Season 2 is due out next year, and we're going to talk about that in a tick. And there's some good things happening. But as for this new movie trilogy thing, it's the old believe it when you see it scenario. Who knows? Now, as part of a bit more of a lighthearted thing, as always, I search and go scouring the internet, as it were, and I come across a few funny gags from time to time. Now, there's a lot of memes, there's a lot of pictures, a lot of stuff to absorb. But every once in a while, I'll see things that I go, that's actually quite clever. I really like that. And this is just shits and giggles, nothing to sort of like analyze. Someone did a cover of a Tintin book, The Curse of Nostromo. I just love that. They've obviously taken the characters from Destination Moon and stuck them in the Nostromo. I just thought that was really, really funny. Just tickled me pink. What do you reckon, dude?
Yeah, I actually saw that too, and I did think it was funny. And it is the kind of thing, if they made that into a Tintin book, it would be absolutely awesome. you know. So you could have the Thompson twins, Thompson and Thompson, one of them getting an alien face hugger on or something. Yeah, it'd work.
Who gets the chest? Actually, the face hugger goes on one Thompson, but the chest burster comes out of the other. Murray's joined us. Good to say evening, fellas. G'day there. And we got Michael joining us as well. I can't punish his surname. We'll just stick with Michael. So well done. What's it, man?
So I have the perfect sequel to that, is where Tintin goes up to the Arctic and it opens up with Snowy running through with a helicopter trying to shoot him because Snowy is the thing.
I love it. Oh, that is just awesome, isn't it? Absolutely. And Snowy's head splits like a banana and it all comes out. The jokes practically write themselves. Another funny gag. Now, this isn't sci-fi. This is fantasy. But I actually laughed. When I saw this today, I actually laughed out loud, right? LOL'd for real, right? So I did see this, right? So the gag is one does not simply walk into Mordor. And Frodo says, well, we could just take the train. And of course, the gag, which I've now just not got working, is yes, it's Mordor on the Orange Express.
Yeah. Do you know what, though? They'd all get there late because probably they'd have replacement buses running.
Isn't that funny? I literally laughed out loud when I saw that. I thought that was absolutely hysterical. And you just don't give a shit, do you?
I guess humor is subjective, and everyone is subjected to your humor once in a while, Dag.
It's not mine. I didn't do this, but that is awesome. I mean, that's the kind of thing you're thinking. What? That is so obvious. Why didn't people think of that 10 years ago? But Mordor on the Orient Express. I just thought I'm laughing on the inside right now, fans, even if you're not. So, guys just said that's just plain bad. Yes, there's no planes. We're talking about trains here. Well, we could be talking about automobiles. And there's this picture that came up, and I thought, oh, this is awesome. So it's a van with the Close Encounters Devil's Tower painted on the side. Dude, how cool is that?
That is absolutely fantastic. And that's the type of thing, if they ever made a Close Encounters pinball machine, the kind of art you'd expect to see on it. But that is, I like seeing the vans like that. You don't see them much, and usually you see the same kind of thing. But that is a very unique one, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree. And on the other side of the van is just this big mound of mashed potatoes. So
that would be, do you know what would be funny? If that was a potato delivery van and it just had the Close Encounters thing on the side.
I do like the sound of that. Gina said, like good old days of custom fans. Well, the funny thing about it is, back in the old days, you used to airbrush them, right? Which is like, you really need a good artist to do them properly. Now they put vinyl wraps all over them, which look good, but it's a lot more of an easier way of doing it. But I think that one was actually painted because it certainly looked that way. So,
well, you know what you know what they say: if the vans are rocking, don't come a knocking, because there's an alien abduction going on inside.
Well, something's being abducted. What can I say? Moneybags has joined us for the first time in ages. You've picked a damn good time to do it because we're about to talk about Star Wars, as one does, which is a very, very groovy. Now that it is built, they will. Oh, Jesus, that's almost like, where you going with that, Christy? Inside the van. After what Aron just said, let's move on, shall we, before we get banned? Very, very cool. Season 2 of Andor is due out next year. It's funny, right? All these people are going, oh my God, that is absolutely awesome. The amount of Star Wars fans who didn't really dial into Andor when it first came out, I think, are now realizing just how good of a show it is. Season 2, I think it's due out in April. That's written at the bottom there. So the thing is, I think every 3 episodes represents 1 year, and the final year rolls into effectively Rogue One, which is cool. They released a trailer for Disney this week of all these different shows that they got going on. This was one of them. There's only a couple of handful of shots. The thing that some people picked up on is you got the TIE Avenger, which actually first appeared in TIE Fighter, the computer game, back in the 1990s. And I thought, how good is that, Mr. Aron?
Yeah, driven by Steed and Mrs. Peel. But I was a big fan of
very good.
The TIE Fighter games when they came out. I loved X-Wing. I loved TIE Fighter better because I have a bit of a dark side, so I love playing for the Empire. So when that turned up, I was really impressed. I do like that they've obviously taken little Easter eggs from all over the place and put into these movies.
Yeah, so, I mean, I played TIE Fighter as well, and I was so cool. I became a member of the Emperor's Inner Circle, had all the tattoos and all that sort of bizzo. But even I didn't register. It was the same ship. And, of course, if you've ever watched Rebels, they do actually, the Rebels do actually steal ships from the Empire, and this is obviously a continuation of that. And the TIE Avenger, what do I call it? Avenger has supposed to have shields and hyperdrive and all sort of business, and then probably later on the Defender takes its place. I don't know, but clearly steals it.
It's eventually replaced by the new Avenger, but that isn't quite as good as the original.
No, it is not, isn't it, Ace? Justice for all. Anyway, Andor season 2 is coming out. It's a shame it was meant to go for 5 years, only be cut down to a second season. It'll probably finish like spectacularly, and people go, "Why can't this thing go on longer?" They go, "Well, because someone somewhere said, nah, 2 seasons is enough," which is a bit of a pity,
I know why.
Yes.
Because Cyril's mum said no.
She did indeed. Well, she was giving Cyril some cereal, which is very, very cool. What was the Uncle Harlow? Wasn't it the Uncle? That was the name of the old Uncle Harlow. Oh my God, yes, because he said he wanted it to stop. Yes, and of course you did get to see K2SO because obviously he and Cassian are connected. So you probably see the reprogramming of him, which is probably a bit like Terminator, because as you know in the Terminator series. For Terminator 2, Arnold gets reprogrammed by John Connor. So something similar to that. What do you reckon, dude?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think out of all the live-action Disney stuff they've done on Disney Plus, that the Andor was my favourite because it just seemed a bit more serious and more well-written. And I do love action and adventure, but I like the stories the best.
Yep, totally agree. Daniel said many hours playing TIE Fighter. In fact, I wore my mouse out. This is when you had a rolling mouse and the wheel just burnt out because you had to keep changing all direction all the time. But absolutely fantastic. Gina said it's a misnomer because we're looking at a TIE Interceptor, if my memory serves. I think you'll find they're roughly the same shape, but a TIE Interceptor doesn't have the shields and hyperdrive, whereas a TIE Avenger does. But yeah, they're very, very similar no matter what. Now, this is another one that popped up this week. And even though this is not strictly sci-fi, again, it is talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I thought I'd chuck this one in because it's coming out next year. It's a new film regarding Captain America, which, as we know now, is being played by, I've forgotten the guy's name. But what did you, I loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and this looks like a carryover from that. But did you see this trailer, Mr. Aaron, and what are your thoughts on it, old son?
Yeah, I think out of the trailers they've released so far, this is one of the better looking Marvel ones. The trouble with Marvel, and I think it's almost like the trouble with Star Wars, by having it on TV, yay, we get more of it, but it also kind of dilutes the excitement whenever there's a new one because there's a whole lot of the content coming out all over the place. So at least this trailer looks very cinematic and seems to have, a much... you can just tell by the direction it's a bit different from some of the other stuff we've got recently from Marvel. So looking forward to this one.
I was intrigued by the fact that Harrison Ford is back as the president. I mean, how many times has there been a president in movies? At least 2. This Air Force One, and maybe even a little bit of like Sum of All Fears or Clear and Present Danger, stuff like that. So I was surprised he was even in this. It's like, oh, where'd that come from, dude?
Yeah, well, he's been announced to that, hasn't he? He's Red Hulk, isn't he? I think that.
Yes. It's a spoiler alert in the trailer because he has a bit of a moment and then he turns into the red. And it's like, oh, I wonder who that is. It's like he's going to get a hat and get a whip and off he goes.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when you drive a helicopter to work every day, you have to get this big budget movie coming into to be able to afford the petrol. So he's done the Star Wars and he's come back and he's done another one of these big franchises. So I think that's where it comes from, because I really didn't think Harrison Ford, after I guess Dial of Destiny, would come back and do another big franchise like that. But there you go. The other rumors I heard, this is off the top, I've heard they're developing another Indiana Jones movie.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So if they were, you'd have to think it's a prequel, and when he's a lot younger, like in between young Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, so which chronologically comes first. So who knows? I just like the trailer because it looks very serious. I mean, a lot of the Marvel movies are very, very fluffy. They're just like, just sit there and go, oh, it's all very, very good. It just looked very dark, very serious. And once you start introducing a lot of military hardware and a lot of destruction and a lot of really tension, I thought, because as I said, I like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, regardless of what other issues it may have had. I love the seriousness of it, and hopefully they get to carry that through, which is very cool.
The thing that I worry about for this movie, there's already been 2 trailers out before, and neither of them really did anything for me. And I do wonder, if you're releasing a trailer, you're not going to release mediocre ones if they've really had to pull down deep to cut together a trailer to appeal to people, or they were waiting for the special effects to be finished. I guess that's possible as well.
Very true. I like this one, Colin. Handball solo smash. Karana said 3 times scary movie as well. President Ford. Yeah, I was surprised. Like, he must be thinking, oh, am I playing the president again? Does he get an airplane at least? And does it get to kick people off it? You have to wonder. Chrissy says doesn't like the idea that Captain America now flies. I like when he lands, those wings just disappear into his back and go, mate, that just looks like a standard CGI visual effect. Yeah, that's just pretty ordinary.
Well, look, I guess look at it this way. He had that fantastic run in the early 2000s of Sabrina, Paper Heart, 6 Days, 7 Nights, and all those absolute classics. At least this is back to his form of action movies and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very true. And Gina said, loves your T-shirt, all-time favorite movie, Alien, which is very cool. Apparently, there's a Tintin comic coming out where they're stuck on the Nostromo, but be sure to check that out. And Russell has finally joined us. The sci-fi stuff, especially the comic movies and TV shows, have reached 60s Western saturation point. There are too many to bother with, and we've seen it all before. Yep, that is always a risk, especially a few years ago where they completely almost ruined their own market. Now,
Russell
recently,
Russell missed the beginning of the show, so we were just recommending everyone, Russell, that they go out and buy the dolls from Mattel and check out the website on it. So go and get the Wicked dolls and check out the website.
Yeah. What can I say? It'll be fun for the whole family. Very, very. You really will be looking at those pictures going, I'm melting. Now, good that Karan's joining us at the moment. Now, for some of the people who are international, this isn't going to be really relevant to you. But one of the cool things that we've been promoting here for the past couple of weeks is good old Sunny Saturdays, right? Now, of course, this happens every second week outside of Aron's shop where it's all about coffee, collectibles, and cholesterol. And the cool thing is last week, we had a Sunny Saturdays. And this is a photograph of what it looked like. Some dudes hanging around, having a whale of a time, which is very, very cool. So if people want to know what Sunny Saturdays are like, be sure to check them out. There's not going to be another one for a couple of weeks. But there you go. You can see. And there's even people at the background just waiting for a free seat to come and join us, Mr. Aron. What do you reckon about that?
So what's that game going on in the foreground there?
I'm trying to think of a smart ass answer, and I can't.
Are you guys out in front playing with your Pokemon cards?
Oh, definitely not doing that. I can tell you that right now. But but that was Karan doing some. That was Karan's point of view. He was sitting in my seat that particular time. But yes, it was actually very, very groovy. So if you want an idea as to what Sunny Saturdays are like, that is the most important thing. It was rocking on Saturday. Well, it's funny you should mention that, Mr. Karan, because guess what we have to talk about now?
Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS! Doctor Who! Hey! The TARDIS!
Absolutely fantastic. Yes, we're talking about Docky Who. And if you're wondering, we're going to be kicking it off talking about what happened in Aron's stall last week regarding Sylvester McCoy and Janet Fielding turned up. No, we're not. We're going to be talking about this first. Dude, what's going on? John Barrowman, he's been kicked off the show. He's been blackbanned, blacklisted. He's been given the house of father. What is the deal with this, dude?
Well, this is kind of old news that's coming back. And you can tell it's not that serious or bad because he's actually using it as an advert for people to come and see him and talk about it. Basically, John Barrowman did some stuff that was a bit spicy and maybe inappropriate on set way back when Doctor Who started again in 2005. Didn't leak for a couple of years, and then it came out that he had been inappropriate, and he apologized, and that was it, and life went on. Then about 10 years later, someone else did some inappropriate stuff on set, and it basically is like, well, hang on, how come this guy is getting prosecuted and cancelled? And John Barrowman did bad stuff as well. So it all came up and came back and blew up, and he lost his job on Arrow and from the Arrowverse or the DC universe.
Whatever, dude. I don't care, dude.
Whatever, okay.
We're really past the joke.
They try to cancel him, but he's actually using it as advertising to get people to go and see his new show.
Very good. Done. All right. So what did happen last week, and this is actually very, very important. Now, for those who don't know, who are watching for the first time, Aron has his own collectible store. And there was a bit of a big deal last week because he actually had Sylvester McCoy and Janet Fielding pop in. And it was a mega day, Mr. Aron. Give us your summation of the whole thing now that it's been a week later or a few days later.
Well, I like to think there was a code Brown alert because we had Radagast the Brown in the shop. Sylvester McCoy played Radagast the Brown in the Hobbit trilogy. He also played the Seventh Doctor on Doctor Who back in the 80s. Janet Fielding was there. She was Tegan in Doctor Who also back in the 80s. It was a mind-blowing day. It was the biggest event we've ever had in the shop. Hundreds of people. It was a blockbuster because I think it did go past the first block. I think that's how they class a blockbuster. We had to get the guests to stay longer to sign autographs for everyone. I think everyone got through. Everyone seemed to have an amazing day, and I've had absolutely positive feedback. So for those people who came down, thank you so much. We had a lot of people who travelled quite a long time, up to 6 hours to do this shop event. So I like to do these events because it's kind of the old style signings where, people used to rock up and you could do signings. It's not these Comic Cons now, which is all pro run. This is actually for the fans who want to come, meet the stars, get an autograph. It was insane. What was your thoughts of the day, Dags?
No, I really enjoyed it. It was actually very, very. It was a good get together of a lot of people who were there for the same thing, the same reason. The vibe was good, the energy was good. It was a nice day weather-wise, and it was clear to see that everybody had a really good time. And I said to Aron later on, his setup is actually one of the best you'll find because you do get to interact with the guests really, really closely. You get to spend a couple of minutes with them. It doesn't cost a fortune for the autograph. You can buy anything in the store, and that alone makes it a bit of an absolute winner chicken dinner right across the board. And now I thought it was actually really good and really enjoyable. And I think based on the comments that we've seen already, people really dial in, which is fantastic. So very, very cool.
And that's amazing review coming from Dags, who has such a high opinion of Docky Who.
Well, the funny thing was, because I was looking after the door, right? So the doors were shut because we were waiting for the guests to turn up, and Mark turned up with Janet. And as they're walking to the door, because I have no idea who Janet is, and I thought, I think she's the guest. And I just had to say, hello, Janet. And she said, hello. I thought, beauty, it is her. Beauty. I'll open the door and let her in. So, because otherwise it would have been like, sorry, old lady, you ain't getting in here. We're waiting for Janet Fielding to turn up.
Well, the one thing I think you didn't highlight, I don't know if you've got the picture, was for Sonny's Saturdays, was Sylvester McCoy actually stopped at the table and shook people's hands. So who knows who's going to turn up on one of these cholesterol-laden afternoons to join Sonny and the gang having a chat.
Well, that's actually very true. My other half was sitting, you saw in the picture earlier on, sitting on sunny Saturdays, and Sylvester came around the corner, he shook everybody's hand. So my other half was just sitting there. Oh, a Docky's come up to me. How good is that? And there's a nice photograph. I didn't show it earlier. Of Lynn meeting a Docky. So you never know who you're going to meet in the most unusual places, which is very, very cool. So good stuff. Yeah. Colin has said, well done to myself and Aron. Nothing to do with me. It's all Aron's show. So if you want to send your plaudits anywhere, send them in Aron's direction. So next time around, it should be very, very interesting, which is a very, very cool. Awesome. Anyway, anything further you want to mention about that day before we move on, Mr. Aron?
No, I'd just like to thank the loyalty of the people who are on the chat here tonight, because most of them came along. If you're overseas, Gene, I give you a pass on it. But everyone else, Mark and Christy and Guy, Sonny, was Russell there? I don't think Russell was there.
Russell unfortunately missed it, but that's okay, not a problem. So yeah,
Kelvin was there, and even Colin. Now it's a good event when the president of the Star Trek fan club of Australia rocks up to a Doctor Who event.
Yes, exactly right. And that's the most important thing. He knew his place in the world, which was very, very cool. All right, so that's that. So that's the end of our news. We're going to move on to our main topic of conversation. So we're just plucking this out of thin air. One thing I thought of recently, I was watching a movie on TV, and I thought, oh, yeah, you sort of forget that there were movies made in the 70s, science fiction movies that came out before Star Wars, right? Yeah. Star Wars is such a big thing. The whole science fiction landscape changed dramatically in 1977. But what occurred in the 6 years prior to that? So we're just going to have a bit of a lighthearted natter about some of the movies that came out in the 70s. Now, some people will remember these, other people probably not. And there was a lot that did come out. And of course, the key thing about science fiction movies of the early 70s is that for the most part, they were all depressing, right? Because the world was in the middle of the Cold War. America was in the Vietnam War. The thought of the future was just like, mate, climate change is just going to change everything. Everything is miserable. So if you ever wanted to watch a movie that'll make you feel depressed, nearly every sci-fi movie of this era will do so. So we're just going to chuck in a few random ones. Put your suggestions in, people. And I just realized Hotline has joined us from Ukraine, which is absolutely fantastic. And we're just going to rock it off. Mate, let's start off with some absolutely nuclear destructions of the Earth. Got all the Planet of the Apes sequels came out in the 70s. Mr. Aron, dude, how do these rock for you, old son?
Well, I loved all the Apes movies. For me, were movies that were always around because they came out, before I was able to go see them at the cinema. So they were staples of the local video library. And, you'd have the Apes movies, and each one, it got more and more dire for the humans as it went along. I mean, the second one, they blew up the Earth. I mean, how do you come back from that? Spoilers, sorry, but these are 70s movies, so I don't think we need to really qualify it. The thing with the Apes movies, they're very reliable, enjoyable movie. If you like the first Planet of the Apes, you're going to get something out of each of the sequels. And even though some of them are better and some of them aren't as good, each one of them has performances and lines and scenes in them particularly that are worth watching the movie for. So I loved the Apes growing up. And it was one of those things that would drive my parents nuts when you remember you seem to have hours and hours of trying to pick the 5 weeklies after you've picked the 2 new releases, and it was always like you'd pick 4 and couldn't pick anything else. So me and my brother would always go and pick an Apes movie, and some of them we saw quite a few times because of that. But I love the Apes. What about you? Were you into any monkey business, Dags?
That was when I picked up the Wicked dolls earlier. Absolutely. Just as an aside, Christy said Adric is coming to Australia soon. Any chance? Put that one on the back burner. Have to wait and see. So, with the Apes movies, of course, I absolutely adore them. For those who are wondering which ones to watch, if you haven't seen the first one, be sure to check that out first. But Escape from the Planet of the Apes is definitely the one to go with next. I mean, as I said, they're all depressing. Right, I mean they have some pretty like really dark endings, and you go, well, it's just a bit of a down. It's a bit of a downer, but they are well worth checking out. Another movie that came out, of course, in the early 70s, a forerunner of technology today was Colossus, the Forbin Project. It's Forbin, not forbidden. All about AI, computers taking over the damn world long before Skynet and whatever else. A computer in America that has control of all their weapons connects with one in Russia. And they say, that's it. Humanity can't look after itself. We're just going to blow up countries, and you guys are going to be doing what we tell them to do. Now, of course, back in the 70s, people would have thought, mate, that's complete science fiction. This is closer to reality than you could ever imagine, Mr. Aron. What do you reckon?
It is, isn't it? It is funny, though, because the movie should have been really about how the two computers over there were generating, I guess, AI fakes to confuse people online, because that seems to be what a lot of the AI is today. Out of these, I'm just going to bring it up because I don't know if you've put it up as a movie or not. The one I always loved and found really scary growing up was actually The Demon Seed, which wasn't about AI around the world. It was about a supercomputer controlling a house and basically trapping the woman inside, kind of thing. But I've only seen that once, and that is a distant memory. I don't remember much about it, so can't really comment more than that.
Just going back to Planet of the Apes, I've got to chuck in one of these finally. I love this one from Rusky Babes. I've just lost it. The Planet of the Apes TV series was a big hit here, which really annoyed HSV of Channel 7, as they only had a dozen episodes to screen. Unbelievable. Yes, Guardian is the Russian one. Yes, go on.
Here's another fun factoid. They actually cut the Planet of the Apes TV series into movies by getting 2 or 3 episodes and joining them together. Then they got Roddy McDowall in to sort of do the narration to link it. And the very last Planet of the Apes TV series, Roddy McDowall explains that the humans got back to the future and back to the past and back to real Earth. And it is the only apes version where the astronaut get back to a normal Earth.
There you go. How about that? So just regarding Colossus, as Kelvin said, Guardian is the Russian one. So it's Colossus on one side, Russian on the other side. And you go, all right, fine. Computers, AI, bloody, 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 blah. But 70s movies could unbelievably predict the future. And of course, remembering what happened with the COVID pandemic a few years ago, we had the Andromeda strain as well, a disease that kills everything, Mr. Aron. And the whole movie is about living in this goddamn laboratory, about how they try and figure out what the Andromeda strain is. Didn't this freak a whole lot of puppies out?
I loved the Andromeda Strain. It's Michael Crichton as well, isn't it? Who wrote Jurassic Park?
Yes.
Wrote this. I loved it. It was the space satellite came back and brought a upper atmosphere microbes back that became a super virus. And what scared the living crap out of me is it basically turned your blood into dust. Now, that's not something you'd see in your average virus. And it is one of those things where, because it's almost a base under siege, there's not much set outside, but they do seem to cure it at the end. A spoiler, but it is a very tense and an amazing movie. So if you see that, sometimes it pops up late at night. I end up just watching it into the small hours of the morning. Another great movie.
Yeah, it's very methodical about how they try and figure out what the problem is. So there's no action in it at all. Really, it's very, very slow. And when they spend all their time going through all the different levels trying to decontaminate themselves, they go through the whole process really, really in great detail. But it's actually worth it just for that. But yeah, you are right. When it turns your blood into powder, and you go, "Oi!" I mean, it's not like you just add water and it's just dehydrated and it just comes back.
No, that's Batman. Like Batman.
Yeah.
And you know what? Those two computers, they could have called the American one Rocky and the Russian one Drago. That would have been pretty cool.
You never know. Robert Wise, director of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, was responsible for the Andromeda Strain, which is very, very cool. Yeah. Now, sticking with crazy shit that's going on, of course, Charlton Heston popped up everywhere. But before he did Soylent Green, he was in the Omega Man. Where a whole bunch of vampire-shaped dudes are trying to hunt him down because he's got a cure to a virus, dude. How awesome was this?
Well, people probably do know this, but the book this is based on, I Am Legend, was later remade by Will Smith. There is an earlier version with Vincent Price, which is an absolutely amazing movie if you can track it down. This is a great version. I remember being terrified of this just because the look of sort of the albino zombie people and the fact that, you know, some of the people who were the good guys started to convert over. Was another one of those things that freaked me out a lot as a kid. Gee, Charlton Heston got himself into a lot of dystopian futures, didn't he?
Well, once again, it's depressing and the ending's depressing, right? And like as Kelvin said, I Am Legend, and the version you're thinking of was Last Man on Earth, which had Vincent Price in it. So it has been redone a number of times. The guy who wrote Richard Matheson, did a lot of things for Twilight Zone, actually wrote it. As Russell said here, the difference between Andromeda Strain and similar flicks from the 50s is that it seemed like the real thing, not some jam from a meteor, which is completely true. So it would have freaked a lot of people out because there's a lot of stuff going on in space at the time with the space race. There would have been some people completely freaking out. But yes, with the Omega Man, along with most of these movies are all the same. They have very, very depressing and downbeat endings because that was just the mindset of the world at the time. And another movie which was kind of similar, of course, was THX 1138 from George Lucas. Now, for a lot of people who saw Star Wars, they go, "Oh, I'll go back and rewatch 20 at THX because it's got to be along the same lines." This movie is nothing like Star Wars, dude.
I actually love THX, and I don't know, this might be controversial. I actually liked the Redux version better, where he improved the special effects and.
Oh yes, the director's cut. Yes.
Yeah, it's one of those, you know, Star Wars probably didn't need it because it was already state of the art. This was obviously made on, you know, the tiniest budget and just the will of George Lucas getting it done. So when he had a chance to redo it, he used more improvements, but he seemed to be more reverent, maybe because it was his first movie that he got done. And there's some scenes that are still absolutely amazing. When they went out and used the real big tunnels that had been drilled and stuff like that, they are still impressive scenes that they managed to get into quite a low budget movie. If you like your more cerebral dystopian futures, this is definitely worth checking out. If you're a Star Wars fan, you might not dig it because it's just a totally different gear. But if you just like science fiction in general, it is a good one. There's a lot of time you watch it and go, what the hell is going on? But it all does make sense. And I was just going to say, you don't ever see any of the THX guards walking around at cosplay, and that'd be quite a cool thing to do.
Yeah, I've done actually that before. Is that why you brought that up? Because I did those costumes back in 1986. So it's funny. So if you go, oh, THX, I'm expecting an opening crawl to go up like Star Wars. The actual text doesn't go up. It actually comes down, right? And within 10 minutes, you'll be sitting there going, what the friggin' hell's going on? And I'm going completely trippy. But yes, it is not what you think it is, fans, but the director's cut is definitely the one to check out if you get a chance. Speaking of depressing movies, this one is right at the bottom of the barrel. It's like, this is a tearjerker, right? You'll be absolutely the 12 Clinic special for Silent Running. And the irony of Silent Running is all to do with climate and the environment. The humans have destroyed just about everything. All the forests are stuck on ships, hurtling through the galaxy. And of course, eventually someone says, nah, get rid of them all. We need the money. Put the ships back into normal service as couriers or whatever else. Absolutely depressing. I showed this once to my girlfriend at the time, and she bawled her eyes the whole way through, and I was in the bad books for ages. So Silent Running, dude, what were your thoughts on this?
Huey, Dewey, and Louie. After the Disney versions, the most popular usage were for the droids, and they say they kind of inspired the droids from Star Wars, and in some ways they do look a bit like the Gwonk power droids from Star Wars, but I don't see much else. It is an absolutely depressing movie. There are movies that have been made that remind me of it. I think one of them was Sunlight, where they had to reignite the sun, but it had more of a better, a more happy ending because the Earth was freezing and stuff like that. Not the same story at all, but kind of the same feeling to it, with just a couple of people left on a spaceship. This is more one of those movies, again, that really speaks to us now environmentally, because we're even further along now than we were back when that movie was made. So it's still relevant. It is one of those movies, it never pops up on television or streaming or anything like that. I haven't seen that movie for decades.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to see it again because it was very depressing and very, very sad. I like this one from Christy. I remember crying while watching Silent Running because I was so bored. Oh, Christy, you're killing me, man. Beautiful. There's a beautiful song in it by Joan Bates as well. But yeah, it's so relevant to today. I think it's almost like people kind of need to watch get the gist behind what it's really all about. Just quick, you go on. Go.
I actually like the sequel better because it's a lot funnier. Cool Runnings with John Candy and
You're a friggin' idiot. Oh my god. Oh, jeepers creepers. I was waiting for some smart ass joke to come out of that, and I'm not going to press the fun factoid thing, but yes, THX was actually a remake of Lucas's silent student version of the story when he was a student in USC, and Francis Ford Coppola. Was it Coppola? No, yeah. Hang on. It was Coppola, yes.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, Coppola said, "I'll give you all this money, and you go off and make a big movie of it."
What wasn't THX the movie that got American Zoetrope, Coppola's company, basically put into bankruptcy because the studio saw it and go, "This isn't the movie we wanted," pulled out all the money and stuff. It was a lot of drama.
Yeah, it was not the kind of thing that it would be everybody's cup of tea. Shane said Silent Running is on Amazon Prime. Oh, well, there you go, fans. There you go. Be sure to check it out. It is actually, you got to think 1970s when it was made. Russell said, Janet, that's his wife, said Silent Running was the saddest film she'd seen. Absolutely. And as we've said, by today's standard, is very, very relevant. Sticking with stuff that's green, though, we're almost going to wrap this up, even though we're miles behind schedule. Mate, you can't beat the old Soylent Green, mate. You want to see depressing movies, dudes chowing down on other dudes without even realizing they're doing it. My God, dude, how bad was this film?
And it's green too. So that was actually on that link we were talking about earlier. But Silent Green is one of those movies where everybody knows the twist, and it is still a great twist when they reveal like Soylent Green is people. It is another totally depressing movie. My headcanon is Soylent Green is in the same universe as Logan's Run. So in my version, you merge the two together, and when you hit 21, they send you to the Soylent factory to keep the society going rather than going to Carousel. But that's just like a stupid thing that I've put together. I love Soylent Green. I've watched that movie many times.
Well, the thing about Soylent Green, it's actually a whodunit police mystery. Just happens to be set in the future, which was set 2 years ago, 2022 of all things, where overpopulation, not enough food for everybody. The place has got a green tinge about it. It is, oh, damn, dude. And they bring along like big trucks to scoop up all the rioters, to chuck them in the back. If they only did that with some of the protests that are occurring these days, that's how you fix them up. Get the dumb trucks in and just chuck them in the back.
Do you know what would happen to me? I'd be one of the idiots that saves up years and years and years to get a punnet of strawberries, and I'd get it home and I'd look under it and I'd get one of those freaking moldy ones that are always getting wasted like a year's worth of money. But how sad is it where people go to suicide booths and they basically show It's a Wonderful World with just how the world used to be, and that's it. They snuff your candle. I mean, that is a depressing movie.
They snuff your candle, and then off you go to be like redone, refixed up to be made into food, which is kind of cool. I like this from Christy. Soylent Green is made by people, for people, and of people. That's actually very, very deep. I'm just going to show one more. I had a whole lot more to go through. There's a long list, obviously, right? I'm going to chuck this one in because it's so funny, right? So it's Beware the Blob.
Beware the Blob.
Okay, and you go, well, I don't. And it's thinking, why would I put this in? Who directed this movie? Do you know?
No, who directed Beware the Blob? Is it Toby Hooper or something like that?
It was not. It was Larry Hagman. After doing his stint on Bewitched, and before he ended up in Dallas, his one and only directorial work was Beware the Blob. Now imagine putting that on your CV, dude. What do you reckon?
I'd like that. That's amazing. Like, I've only seen that once. I remember it being one of the bad Blob movies.
You know what? I don't think I've ever seen it. So, but I thought, why would Larry Hagman direct that? What is the deal, man? So, there you go. I Dream of Jeannie. Well, I said Bewitched. Yeah, sorry, I got the wrong one. They're both the same. You know, there's a girl hardly wearing any clothes doing really exciting stuff. So
that would be funny, wouldn't it? I'll teach you this time, Jeannie, and you put the blob in her bottle.
Oh yeah, absolutely fantastic. So, you know what? We may have to come back and do a bit more of the 70s movies because I'm just scrolling through all the pictures, barely even touched half of them. So
I'm disappointed we didn't talk about Zardov. I mean, I want to be wearing those costumes now.
Hang on, I've got Zardos here. I just got to go. Okay, there we go. Now I want you to superimpose Aron's head on top of Sean Connery there, and there we go, fans. What do you reckon?
Well, I'd probably rather cosplay the actual Zardov head rather than Sean Connery. I mean, I'd be bulging in all the wrong places if I was wearing that.
Oh, goodness gracious me. Well, guess what, fans? We are a mile behind time. We're not going to get through all this properly. But this one I did actually... What?
Did people actually know Beware the Blob was actually what we were going to call this show, but then you joined and we didn't have to call it that anymore?
Jeez Louise, where's he going with that? All right, so that's enough of the silliness. We probably will have to come back and do more 70s movies because, as I said, we barely even touched on the ones we wanted to look at. But this one I want to bring up. We are running behind time, but it's actually a bit of a serious one this time around. So just sit tight. Here we go.
A question.
All right, so I have a question for my mate, Mr. Aron, and please, for the love of all that is good, don't cosplay Zados. Who's
well,
Zados?
I've actually got the costume on under this, Dad.
Oh, no. Watch those pheromones, man. We don't want you to be losing control of those. So very, very cool. All right, now I know it's hard. We're having a lot of laughs. This is actually a serious question, right? That I want to bring up, and I just want to spend a few minutes on it, but we'll see how we go. So, all right, reset. The question I got for you: is there a level of misogyny in films and TV shows which are mostly aimed at a male audience? Now, before I explain why I'm asking that question, do you have an answer?
Yeah, I think there is, of course, because we watch shows from a different era to which we live in, where the practices and what was accepted in society are different from what they are today. And you have to remember, women have had a pretty raw deal. If you look at stuff maybe before the 80s, even in the 70s, most of the women in movies were relegated to the housewives and to doing, the chores and the cooking and the kids and stuff like that. And because most of us have grown up in a generation after that, it isn't the norm anymore. It still probably isn't as easy for women as it is for men in a lot of cases. But now, because we live in a society where things are more based on equal rights between the sexes, we notice when misogyny is in television a lot more. So when you see shows, generally, I think they play on it. It's a deliberate thing. So you might watch something like Fat Pizza on SBS or something where they push on that as a source of humor. But because it's humor now is because it's not the norm. But in past generations where they were making movies, it was the norm. And you would have things that if it was the other way around and people would not see the movie. They say Star Trek was groundbreaking because they had a black woman on the bridge of the Enterprise. But you've got to remember, they had to rejig the original Cage version of Star Trek because they said no one would believe that number one was actually a woman. Now, is that misogyny or is that just the way society is? I think it's weaved in together. I think the best thing we can take from this is the further back we go, we see the more that it's leaned more towards misogyny and men being, totally in control of society and more of an upper class thing. If you look at something from the 20s or the 30s, you have all that aristocratic stuff where women are really not part of the society other than on someone's arm as eye candy. The one thing I can say, you can see the progression in popular culture from those days to now, and we're a million times better. I mean, we had all the Buffys and stuff like that, and whereas Wonder Woman, when it originally came out, might have been a bit sexist, now you've got a Wonder Woman who's a strong, confident woman who inspires other women. And I like crazily, this is a true story. I saw the new Wonder Woman. It's not new. I mean, the Gal Gadot version with Tennille. And she said that was a really great origin story. And it was good to have a woman as the lead in a superhero movie. As the row of women behind us were like, oh, this movie's made for men. It's all titillation and Wonder Woman's running around in like those Amazon clothes. So I do think misogyny is there for anyone who wants to look at it. I tend to have a more positive view on society where most of us are good people at heart and don't want to be like that. But of course, if you look for something, you're going to find it.
The reason why I brought this up, and that's a good answer, by the way. The reason why I brought this up, I got the picture of a Quatermass in the background there. And the reason why I've got that, and the reason why this question came up, is that recently I produced a video about the history of Quatermass, which was a British science fiction series, went from the 50s right through until effectively the 2000s in various forms. And our narrator of our video was a female, an English woman. And we had 3 people commenting, saying that she was fake. She was actually an artificial intelligence bot. Right? We couldn't believe it, right? 3 different people saying, oh, she's obviously fake. She's not real. And I was trying to think as to why somebody would say that. And I came up with the idea that considering that Quatermass, for the most part, is a male show, all of the Quatermasses are men, and it's a very masculine thing. Were these people watching this video that we made expecting a male narrator? So when they heard a female narrator, did they automatically assume that she was not real? Not thinking that, well, a female narrator has more right to talk about Quatermass than a male one. So it did occur to me, and when I discussed it with our narrator, was saying, thinking, well, did these people expect to hear a bloke's voice because it's a bloke's product, right? And if they hear a female's voice, it kind of irks them. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. But the fact that multiple people thought that not only that it was a female voice, but they thought she was fake, I thought that was just really unusual. So that's the reason why this question came about.
Maybe you could take it as a compliment. She's such a good narrator. Only AI could achieve that level. I don't know. But it is one of those things that's very interesting. I think on the internet, you're going to find everyone with every single opinion. So you can't really take that to heart unless they're really complaining about it. And I don't think, Tash, who we both know very well, is an amazing narrator. She actually lifts the material by how good her narration is for the things she's done for us. So I don't think there could be much criticism there. I do think it's funnier when you said you had people complain she had a British accent because you were doing a show on American sci-fi, which again is really, people really want to nitpick that out of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a true story. We did a history of American sci-fi TV shows, and someone complained, "Why have you got a British voice doing it?" And it's like, hang on, Richard Attenborough does, animal documentaries in America, so why can't we have a British voice talking about American TV shows? But and I agree with you, Kelvin. It was weird. But anyway, I don't know. But I think your answer was completely true. I think that if you get effectively a male-dominated product and females are involved, a lot of guys just go, nah, take the women out, thinking, guys, what is wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with that at all.
It has changed. If you take a franchise like James Bond, just quickly, you have the Sean Connery stuff where he's literally patting girls' bums, saying, "Girls talk, men's talk, dink, off you go," kind of thing, and that is totally acceptable at the time, and you can't judge them because that's how the world was at the time. And it is all totally changed now, where Moneypenny is just as good a spy as James Bond, and they've changed the dynamic. Now, I am definitely not one for ever making James Bond a woman, because that's no longer James Bond. But I am absolutely for having women who can go toe-to-toe with James Bond and just as good a spy as him, because that is the world we live in.
Totally agree. I love this one from Kelvin. Everyone thinks this show is AI. I tell you what, if it was AI, it'd be a damn better show. So now the funny thing was, we were going to move on to another topic, which was talking about customizable card games. We're not going to have time for it. I'm going to carry it over till next week. I might even carry over 70s movies part 2 for next week, because I must admit, we did get a bit of a roll there and had to just cut it short. So so we can actually chill out for 5 minutes, Mr. Aron. How good is this? So there we go. Kelvin has said Atomic Blonde. I loved Atomic Blonde. I thought it was a fantastic movie. I got a gag. Charlize Theron absolutely gets the crap beaten out of her, but she comes up triumphant in the end. Yes, dude, what's the gag, man?
If you wanted to get hold of Aragorn, you would dial M for Mordor.
So even if I thought that was funny, I'm not going to laugh, because you didn't laugh, even though it wasn't my joke. Mordor on the Orient Express. Dial M for Mordor. That's actually very, very, very cool. But I'm not going to tell you that, because otherwise it's.
See, I've been waiting. I've been waiting. It didn't get out until we had some spare time. I have gags aplenty up my sleeve that I don't even get to use most weeks.
No, dude. A gag implies something that actually has a humorous element to it. Your stuff is just rubbish. Very good. Have you seen Jolt? No, there used to be a cola called Jolt. I knew a dude who actually drank so many Jolts, he actually won a Letterman jacket for it, which is kind of cool. Anyway, so we've got a couple of minutes left to go. So Aron, regarding the shop, hang on, which I'm going to put up a thing for right now. How's it all looking for future visits from guests and things? And what's the update, old son?
Well,
the spiel?
It is funny. I do have to admit, people are funny people. Where I've had discussions this week where people have said, you know what, it'd be really good. How about the next guest you get in is like maybe a Hemsworth or someone from the Marvel movies, because I'd really like to meet them. And I've had other people going, can you get someone from the Star Wars universe? And I'm like, let me think about it. No, it'll probably be Doctor Who again. I can only get, who you have contacts with, and that's it. Now, I have discussed with Dags, do we try and branch out? Do we put some feelers out and try and, get someone in? Does Dags want another wrestle with Sly Moore on the couch kind of thing? Maybe that could happen. But the thing is, with doing guests, it's one of those things. It isn't something that is very easy to do, because everything costs a lot of money. They go to the big Armageddons and Supernovas and Comic Cons not out of the goodness of their heart. It's to actually line their pockets, or because they have to promote a movie and they're getting paid to do it. My humble little shop does not have that star power.
Dude, imagine this scenario. So I'm going to show this picture again, right? What if every person in that queue was an A-list celebrity, and they're all queuing up to be a celebrity in the store? Does that make... Well, so you got some Hemsworths here, and some Therons over there, and Scarlett Johansson's back there, and some Star Wars actors back there. How cool would that be, dude?
Maybe I could aim at some of the actors that need the work, like a Kevin Spacey, or some of the kids off like that 70s show, or maybe I could get some people at that level, because that would be the people who are actually looking for it. I don't know, it would be absolutely fantastic if and that's the beauty of the internet. If anyone is watching who thinks they can hook me up with someone who might like to come and visit the shop and have an Aron's Collectibles experience, go right ahead. I love doing these things. It's a great vibe, and everyone enjoyed it. I mean, it was really good to meet. I was a bit stressed, so I didn't really get to talk to anyone much, but Guy came down, and Christy, and a lot of people who don't come into the shop very much. And as Dag said, even the line outside was happening, because there was all these little groups of people who've known each other from the community, but not often does everyone get together.
No, dude, you kind of balls it up. They're all there waiting to find a spot at Sunny Saturday's table. But there's only like 7 spots, and they're all booked. So they're all queued up. All these people, hang on, I'll show this picture. They're all, so don't get it all mistaken, everybody. That queue of people there, they're all waiting to get to Saturday's table. So your shop was a secondary consideration. Well, with that in mind, hang on. With that in mind, I'm going to cut you off. Marcus said Docu Who all the way, right? Shane has said there is no other universes, only Who. And then Guy has said, oh, so Patrick Stewart's out of the question. And Christy says, so no, Mark Hamill. So there you go.
Yes.
Dear. Sorry, go for it, dude.
If you look at that picture, you can actually see they're queuing past the door from Aron's Collectibles and going next door to the pleasure massage experience. And it's just a cover. It's just a cover that they're coming to get autographs.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Anyway, so look, it's all good. We'll have to see who pops up at next time around. Anyway, look, we've run out of time, so our hour is out already. It's been absolutely fantastic. Next week, we are going to go back to the 1970s. It's too good a decade to pass up. I will get to my customizable card games. Wanted to chat about that. Thanks, everybody, for joining us from wherever you happen to be in the world. Hope you enjoyed us just crapping on as we do normally. Mr. Aron, what do you reckon, old son?
Good night, Australia.
Exactly right. All right, party hard, everybody, and we'll see you all next time. And if you've got nothing better to do, go down to Aron's Collectibles and go, oh, where are the guests? Oh, did I miss out on them? Did I? Very good.
One quick tiny story. This full on happened today. 2 girls came into the shop. I know it sounds unbelievable, girls in a collectible shop, but they came in and I had Doctor Who on, and it was the Happiness Patrol, Sylvester McCoy. And one turns to the other one and goes, "Wow, Doctor Who, Sylvester McCoy, my favourite Doctor ever." And I go, "Were you here on the weekend?" And they go, "No, why?" I go, "We had Sylvester McCoy in the shop doing a signing." And they like freaked out, and they go, "Are you going to have him again?" I'm like, "Nah, it was a one-off." So people didn't know. Follow all our socials to be on top of all the news that's happening in the Sci-Fi Zone world and the Aron Collectible world.
Could have been a different story. You could have walked in, the 2 girls see Docky Who on the store on the camera, go, "Oh shit, not this bloody show again."
Well, there is a transformer. There is a transformer called Cup, and you could have had these 2 girls.
Shut up. We've got to go. Piss off. Anyway, leave you here. You're unbelievable, dude. All right, we'll see you all next week. Bye for now, guys. Take care.
Have a good night. See you.